A 7-foot alien warrior was dying on a battlefield, 12 light years from Earth. His blood was purple, his breathing was shallow, and standing over him was a 23-year-old human medic named Jake Morrison. Jake looked at the massive creature. 4 arms, fangs like daggers, claws that could rip through steel, and Jake said something that would change the entire galaxy forever. "I've handled worse. You're just a big tiger, Jaguar." That moment saved a war. It started a legend, and it revealed something about humans that terrified every alien species in the known universe. But the truth behind this will shock you, because what happened next wasn't just about one medic saving one alien. It was about humanity's most dangerous trait, the thing that makes us different from every other species, the thing that turns us into monsters when protecting our own. Here's what you're about to discover. First, you'll learn why Jake Morrison wasn't supposed to be on that battlefield at all, the secret order that sent him there, and the alien general who bet everything on one crazy human theory. Second, I'll show you what Jake actually did to save that dying warrior, the procedure that broke 17 galactic medical laws, and why alien doctors said it was impossible. Third, you'll find out what happened when the entire alien coalition realized what humans were capable of, the emergency council meeting, the classified report, and the one sentence that made every species reconsider their alliance with Earth. This isn't science fiction anymore. This is the story of how humanity became the galaxy's most feared medics. Let me show you exactly how this happened. The year was 2247. Humanity had been part of the Galactic Coalition for exactly 17 years. We were the new guys, the species that barely figured out faster than light travel. Most aliens saw us as primitive, aggressive, useful for grunt work but nothing else. The Coalition was fighting a war against the Kresh, a parasitic species that consumed entire planets. They'd already destroyed 42 worlds. The Coalition was losing badly. Jake Morrison joined the Interstellar Medical Corps when he was 21. He grew up in rural Montana. His dad was a veterinarian. His mom was an ER nurse. Jake learned medicine the hard way, delivering foals in snowstorms, stitching up ranch hands who got careless with machinery, treating bear attacks in the backcountry. He never went to a fancy medical school. He learned by doing. When the Coalition called for human medics, Jake volunteered. They assigned him to the 47th Fleet, a mixed-species battalion led by Commander Jathik. Jathik was a Vorlani, 8 feet tall, armored skin, mind like a supercomputer. Here's the first surprise. Jathik specifically requested human medics. Why? Because humans had one unique trait. We treated animals. We saved creatures that couldn't speak our language. We figured out biology on the fly. Every other species in the Coalition had specialized medicine. Vorlani doctors only treated Vorlani. Keltharian surgeons only understood Keltharian physiology. But humans, we'd operated on dogs, cats, horses, birds, reptiles, even whales. We were generalists. The second surprise came during Jake's first deployment. The 47th Fleet was attacking a Kresh stronghold on Viridian 9. The battle was brutal. The Coalition was getting slaughtered. And then Jake's field hospital got a patient nobody expected. A Vorlani warform named Krasmul. Warforms were the Coalition's elite soldiers, genetically modified, enhanced strength, accelerated healing, nearly indestructible. But Krasmul was dying. A Kresh weapon had hit him with something new, some kind of biological agent. It was shutting down his organs one by one. The Vorlani medics looked at him and shook their heads. "Incompatible," they said. "We don't have protocols for this." Jake walked over. Now here's where things get really interesting. Jake didn't see an alien when he looked at Krasmul. He saw a patient. The warform was crashing fast. His purple blood was turning black. His 4 arms were convulsing. His temperature was spiking to dangerous levels. The Vorlani medics stood back. Their equipment beeped error messages. Their databases had nothing. This was a completely unknown toxin. Jake grabbed his scanner and started working. Here's what nobody understood about human medicine. We don't need complete information to act. Every other species in the Coalition required full diagnostic data before treatment, complete pathology, genetic markers, chemical analysis. Humans learned medicine differently. We learned by comparison. Jake looked at Krasmul's symptoms, organ failure, seizures, blood toxicity, and he thought about Earth animals. This looked like snake venom, specifically, like a combination of neurotoxin and hemotoxin, the kind a timber rattlesnake produces. Was Krasmul's biology exactly like a human's? No, but the basic principles of cellular function are universal. Carbon-based life follows certain rules. Jake started yelling orders. Get me anticoagulants. Now. I need blood thinners, fast-acting, and prepare for a full transfusion. The Vorlani medics hesitated. We don't have protocols. Then make some, Jake shouted. He injected Krosmol with a modified earth drug, something designed for rattlesnake bites. He adjusted the dosage by body weight, calculated on the fly. Then he did something that made every alien in the medical bay freeze. He opened a vein in his own arm and started drawing human blood. What are you doing? A Keltharian nurse asked. Buying time, Jake said. Here's the thing about human blood that aliens didn't know. It's remarkably adaptable. Our plasma contains hundreds of proteins, antibodies, factors that can bind to foreign toxins. Jake filtered his plasma through an emergency purifier. He mixed it with a synthetic buffer. Then he pumped it directly into Krosmol's primary circulatory system. The other medics thought he was insane, but Jake had treated horses with botulism using sheep plasma. He'd saved a dog from antifreeze poisoning using similar cross-species techniques. Why couldn't it work on an alien? For 3 minutes, nothing happened. Krosmol's vitals kept dropping. His breathing became erratic. The monitors showed organ failure accelerating. Then slowly, something changed. The black color in his blood started to fade. His convulsions decreased. His temperature began stabilizing. Jake grabbed more equipment. He started a proper transfusion with synthesized Vorlani blood. He administered oxygen. He monitored every organ system. 6 hours later, Krosmol opened his eyes. The Vorlani medics stood in complete silence. Jake had just done the impossible. He'd saved a warform using techniques that violated every known medical protocol. He'd improvised, adapted, took a calculated risk based on pattern recognition rather than complete data, and it worked. Commander Galactic entered the medical bay. He looked at Krosmol, then at Jake. How? The commander asked. Jake shrugged. Where I'm from, we don't have the luxury of perfect information. You treat what's in front of you. You use what works. That's when Galactic made a decision that would change everything. He sent an encrypted message to Coalition High Command. 3 sentences that would reshape the entire war. Humans possess unique medical capabilities. Cross-species treatment protocols effective. Request immediate expansion of human medical deployment. But if you think that's crazy, wait until you hear this. Word spread fast through the Coalition fleet. Within a week, every battalion wanted human medics. The requests flooded in by the hundreds. But here's what nobody told Jake. He'd started something dangerous. The Coalition had rules, strict ones. Different species didn't share medical technology. Biology was considered classified information. Why? Because knowing how to heal a species means knowing how to kill them. Medical knowledge is the ultimate dual-use technology. The same information that saves lives can design perfect biological weapons. For centuries, Coalition species kept their medicine separate. It was a survival strategy, a way to prevent genocide. Humans had just broken that barrier, and the Coalition Council wasn't sure if that was good or terrifying. They called a classified meeting. Representatives from all 12 member species. The topic, the Human Medical Threat Assessment. The Keltharian delegate spoke first. These humans are treating multiple species without authorization. They're accumulating biological data across the entire coalition. This is a strategic vulnerability. The Vorlani representative disagreed. They're saving our soldiers. Krosmol's unit won a critical battle because their warform survived. Human medics are force multipliers. The debate got heated. Then something happened that nobody expected. The Kresh launched a major offensive. They hit 3 coalition worlds simultaneously. Casualties were massive, and human medics became the most valuable resource in the galaxy. Jake found himself deployed to the front lines of Sigma-7, a mining colony that was being overrun. The fighting was brutal. Coalition soldiers from 6 different species were wounded. The medical facilities were overwhelmed. Jake worked for 72 hours straight. He treated a Keltharian pilot with 3rd-degree burns, used techniques developed for human firefighters. He saved a Draxian engineer who'd been crushed by debris, applied principles from treating construction accident victims. He even managed to stabilize a methane breather whose suit had ruptured. Drew on his experience treating horses with respiratory distress. Every patient was different. Every patient required adaptation. But Jake had one advantage. He didn't overthink it. He looked at symptoms, identified patterns, applied solutions. Other species spent precious time consulting databases and running committee reviews. Jake just acted. Here's the key difference. Humans evolved as persistence hunters. For millions of years, our ancestors tracked wounded prey across vast distances. We learned to read blood trails, understand injury mechanics, predict behavior. That same pattern recognition made us exceptional medics. We don't need a perfect match. We need enough similarity to work with. A circulatory system is a circulatory system. Nerve damage is nerve damage. Shock is shock. The underlying principles transfer. By the end of the Sigma-7 deployment, Jake had treated 47 patients from 8 different species. His survival rate was 94%. The coalition average was 62%. Commander Zotic pulled Jake aside after the battle. "The council wants to meet you," he said. "They're calling it a testimony, but it's really an evaluation." "Of what?" Jake asked. "Whether humans are the coalition's greatest asset or greatest threat." Jake flew to the coalition capital on Kelthara Prime.
He walked into a chamber filled with the most powerful beings in the galaxy. They asked him one question: how do humans learn to treat species they've never encountered? Jake thought about his dad, delivering a breached calf in a blizzard, his mom, treating a gunshot victim with supplies from a gas station. He said, "We just see patients, not aliens, not categories, just living things that need help." The chamber went silent. Then the Archon Prime spoke, the leader of the entire coalition. "You've revealed something we forgot. Medicine isn't about protocols. It's about compassion backed by action. This brings us to the most shocking discovery of all. The coalition made a decision that would reshape galactic warfare forever. They didn't just accept human medics. They restructured their entire medical system around human principles. Project Crossbridge was born. It was the most ambitious medical program in galactic history. The goal: train every coalition species to think like human doctors. Jake became the lead instructor. But here's what made this truly revolutionary. Humans weren't just teaching medicine. We were teaching improvisation, pattern recognition, creative problem solving under pressure. Skills that only one species had developed through millions of years of hunting, adapting, and surviving on a death world called Earth. The training program started with 50 students, doctors from all 12 coalition species. Jake's first lesson shocked them all. He brought in 12 different animals, Earth animals, dogs, cats, rabbits, birds, even a snake. "Your assignment," Jake said, "is to provide basic medical care to these creatures. You have no database access, no species-specific protocols, just your instruments and your brain." The alien doctors panicked. A Keltharian surgeon stared at a golden retriever like it was a bomb. "I don't have protocols for this anatomy," he said. "Then figure it out," Jake replied. "That's what we do." For 3 days, the students struggled. They made mistakes. They got frustrated. But slowly, something changed. They started recognizing patterns. A wound is a wound. Broken bones follow physics. Breathing problems have limited causes. The Vorlani doctor who'd declared Krasmul untreatable showed up on the 4th day. His name was Velthor. He'd spent 30 years in military medicine. "I thought I understood healing," Velthor said, "but I only understood my species. You humans understand life itself." Jake shook his head. "We just don't have the luxury of specialization. On Earth, when something's hurt, you help it or it dies. Simple as that." Project Crossbridge expanded rapidly. Within 6 months, 5,000 coalition medical personnel had completed the training. The results were staggering. Battlefield survival rates increased by 43%. Cross-species treatment became standard practice. The Coalition Medical Corps became a unified force instead of 12 separate departments. But the real impact went deeper than medicine. The Kresh War had dragged on for decades because coalition species couldn't truly work together. They coordinated, but they didn't integrate. Humans changed that. By teaching aliens to treat each other's wounded, we created something unprecedented: genuine trust. A Vorlani soldier who'd been saved by a Keltharian medic using human techniques saw that medic differently, as a brother, not just an ally. The psychological impact rippled through the entire military. Species that had maintained careful distance for centuries started forming mixed units, sharing tactics, truly cooperating, and the Kresh started losing. The turning point came at the Battle of Helix Nebula, the largest engagement of the war. The coalition deployed its first fully integrated strike force: Vorlani warforms, Keltharian pilots, Draxian engineers, and human commanders working as a single unit. The medical corps was equally integrated. Human medics trained alien doctors, all of them treating any species that came through their doors. The battle lasted 9 days. Coalition casualties were heavy, but the survival rate was unprecedented. 81% of wounded soldiers returned to duty. Under the old system, it would have been maybe 50%. That difference won the war. The Kresh couldn't sustain their offensive. The coalition had become something they couldn't predict or counter, a true unified force. And it all started because one human medic looked at a dying alien warrior and saw a patient instead of a monster. So what does all this mean for us today? Jake Morrison became the most decorated non-combat soldier in coalition history, but he didn't care about medals. What mattered was the change he'd triggered, something that went far beyond medicine. Humans had revealed a fundamental truth: specialization creates boundaries, but adaptability creates connections. Here's why this matters to you right now. Think about your own life, your job, your relationships, your challenges. How often do you say, "That's not my department," or "I don't have training for that," or "Someone else should handle this"? Jake's story teaches us something powerful. The most valuable skill isn't deep expertise in one narrow field. It's the ability to recognize patterns across different fields and apply solutions creatively. That's what made humans special in the coalition. Not that we were smarter or stronger. We were connectors, bridge builders, problem solvers who didn't get stuck in rigid thinking. The Coalition Council analyzed human effectiveness for 2 years after the war ended. They published a report called the Adaptability Advantage. Here's what they found. Human success came from 3 traits. First, we're generalists by nature. Our evolution required us to handle multiple environments, multiple prey species, multiple threats. We never had the luxury of specialization. Second, we're comfortable with incomplete information. Other species hesitated when data was missing. Humans acted on best guesses and adjusted as we learned more. Third, we have something the report called empathy projection. We can look at something completely different from ourselves and still recognize shared needs. That last trait was the most important. When Jake looked at Krasmul, he didn't see an alien war machine. He saw a living being in pain who needed help. That perspective shift changed everything. The Coalition rebuilt their entire education system based on human principles. They started teaching children from all species to recognize patterns across disciplines. It created exchange programs where young aliens would spend time on different worlds, learning how other species solved problems. They even established something called generalist academies, where students learned medicine, engineering, agriculture, and combat simultaneously. The goal was to create more humans, not biologically, but philosophically, to build a generation of thinkers who could bridge gaps instead of defending boundaries. 10 years after Jake's first battlefield save, the Coalition had transformed. Species that barely cooperated now worked together seamlessly. Technological development accelerated. Cultural exchange flourished. The economy boomed. All because humans taught the galaxy how to improvise. But here's the deeper lesson for your life. You don't need to be an expert to make a massive impact. You need to be willing to try, to see connections others miss, to act when others hesitate. Jake wasn't the best medic in the Coalition by training. He was the best because he was willing to treat patients nobody else would touch. That courage, the willingness to step outside your comfort zone, is the ultimate skill. It works in medicine, in business, in relationships, in any challenge you face. When you encounter something unfamiliar, don't freeze. Look for patterns. Find what's similar to things you already know. Then act. Adjust as you go. Learn from mistakes. Stay flexible. That's the human advantage, and it's available to you right now. Jake's story proves that one person, using simple principles and bold action, can reshape entire civilizations. You have that same capability. Before we wrap up, there's one final thing you need to know. Here's the twist nobody saw coming. 20 years after saving Krasmul, Jake Morrison received a message. It came from deep space, from a species humanity had never encountered. The message was simple. We are the Kresh. We wish to discuss terms. The warlike species that had terrorized the galaxy for decades was asking for peace, with humanity specifically. The Coalition Council was stunned. Why would the Kresh, who'd never negotiated before, suddenly reach out? Jake was called to the peace summit. He wasn't a diplomat, but the Kresh had requested him personally. He met their representative on a neutral station. The Kresh leader, a creature called Vexhara, looked at Jake for a long time. Then Vexhara said something that changed everything. We monitored your medical operations. We captured your wounded and studied how you treated them. We discovered something that terrified us. What? Jake asked. You could have weaponized your knowledge. With your understanding of our biology, and your Coalition allies' biology, you could have created perfect biological weapons, viruses that would target specific species, toxins custom designed for each enemy. Jake nodded slowly. We could have, but you didn't, Vexhara continued. You only healed. Even when healing your enemies would have been strategically foolish. We found records of human medics treating captured Kresh soldiers. That was true. Jake had personally stabilized 3 Kresh prisoners during the war. Your species has ultimate power over life, Vexhara said, and you use it only to preserve life. That is not weakness. That is strength we cannot counter. The Kresh surrendered because they realized something profound. Humans were more dangerous as healers than as warriors, because we could have destroyed them completely, but we chose not to. That moral restraint, backed by technical capability, was more terrifying than any weapon. The peace treaty was signed 3 weeks later. The Kresh joined the Coalition. They even requested human medical advisors to help them restructure their own healthcare systems. Jake returned to Earth eventually. He opened a clinic in Montana. He trained the next generation of human medics, but his legacy echoes across 100 worlds. The galaxy learned that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't our technology or our aggression. It was our compassion backed by competence. If this opened your eyes, you need to hear what happened next. Let's recap what you just discovered. Jake Morrison, a small-town medic from Montana, saved an alien war form using improvised techniques that broke every rule. That single act triggered a complete restructuring of galactic medicine. It taught the Coalition that adaptability beats specialization, and it ultimately won a war by creating genuine trust between species. The lesson for you: don't wait for perfect conditions or complete information. Recognize patterns. Act boldly. Adjust as you learn. That's the human advantage. You have it right now. If this story resonated with you, here's what to do next. First, hit that subscribe button. We dive deep into humanity's journey through the stars. Every video reveals another way humans changed the galaxy. You don't want to miss what's coming. Second, smash that like button if Jake's story inspired you. It helps this content reach other people who need to hear it. Third, drop a comment answering this question. What's one situation in your life where you could apply Jake's principle of pattern recognition and bold action? I read every comment, and your story might inspire someone else. Now here's where things get even more interesting. This is just one story in a massive collection. We're building a complete archive of humanity's impact on the galactic stage. Next video, I'm revealing the story of Captain Sarah Chen. She commanded the first human warship in Coalition service. When her ship got caught in an impossible battle, she used a tactic that every military expert said was suicide. She won, and her strategy became the new standard for space combat across the entire galaxy. That video drops in 3 days. You need to see how one human captain outsmarted a civilization that had been fighting wars for 10,000 years. I'm also launching something special for the real fans, the Inner Circle. It's a community where we go deeper into these stories. Extended interviews, behind-the-scenes analysis, exclusive content you won't find anywhere else. First 100 members get access to the complete Jake Morrison medical files, real protocols, actual case studies, the techniques that saved hundreds of alien lives. Links in the description if you want in. But here's the real question I want you to think about. Jake wasn't special because of superhuman abilities. He was special because he refused to accept boundaries. He saw a patient when others saw categories. He acted when others hesitated. He trusted his instincts backed by basic principles. You can do the same thing. In your career, your relationships, your challenges. Look for patterns in different areas of your life. Apply solutions from one domain to problems in another. Don't be afraid to improvise when the situation demands it. That's how humans change the galaxy. That's how you can change your world. Remember, the galaxy's most feared medic started as a ranch kid from Montana who just wanted to help. Your story could be next. I'll see you in the next video. Stay curious, stay bold, and remember, you're not just watching stories about humans in space. You're learning what makes us unstoppable.